Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Sports Talk with Austin. And tonight on the show, we will be talking about week one of the 2023 college football season, previewing and giving some thoughts and maybe even some predictions. It is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. The time has officially arrived. There will be no more of us just sitting and waiting. Everything is coming back, and it's fantastic. So let's get it started by previewing the Thursday night games, and let's start with possibly a sneaky one: NC State at UConn, 7:30 p.m. CBS Sports Network. Now, in this game here, there's some interesting storylines to it because NC State, there's a lot of regard. Can they replace Devin Leary? How good are they actually going to be? There's some hype around them. Maybe they're a sleeper dark horse in the ACC, and then it's all very interesting on that side of the ball. Now you come over to UConn. What a successful year Jim Mora had, getting the Huskies to a bowl game. Because normally in football, UConn's lucky if they even win two games, and that's an understatement. I think this could be a really interesting and I think it could go UConn's way, but I'm leaning NC State right now. I think they got too much riding on this. You can't lose a game like this, and plus the fact that their defense is fully healthy, their offense is looking really solid and looking good. I think I think NC State will probably win this game, but UConn could pull off the upset. Now, on to the next game. Florida at number 14, Utah 8 p.m. on ESPN. And there's some big news coming out of this game. Cam Rising and Brent Keithy are doubtful to play, so that means Bryson Barnes will more than likely get the start. Now, how does this affect this game? Well, without Cam Rising, their field general, their leader, it could all lead in Florida's favor because we saw what the Gators did with a healthy Cam Rising. They beat them by 3, but they also have to look at it from the prospect of we no longer have Anthony Richards. He's no longer here. So there's both positive and negatives. I think, the big key in this game, since Cam Rising is more than likely not going to play, the reports have said he's doubtful and Brent Keithy's not there, a big target for this Utah offense. I think this could be another game where Utah could possibly lose just for the fact of Florida beat them last year. Now, it is very different playing up in altitude. It is very different, and Coach Whittingham, I'm sure, has had this game circled for a long, long time. I think this is going to be a fun game, but it all is going to come down to quarterback play between Graham Mertz and Bryson Barnes. Because if Graham Mertz is the Graham Mertz that is being efficient, completing 60 to 65% of his passes, and not throwing picks, we could be in for a good night for Florida fans. Utah, if Bryce Barnes in third and long and is getting sacked and throwing turnovers and just not looking his best, it could be a long night in Utah as well. But the fact that this is an altitude, I think advantage Utah. I think Kyle Whittingham has his eyes on completing the three-peat in the Pac-12. I'm leaning Utah right now, but I would not be surprised if Florida does upset Utah again, just for the fact Cam Rising is not there. Now, speaking of possible upsets, another one on Thursday night. Nebraska at Minnesota, 8 p.m. on Fox. Matt Rule's first game against PJ Fleck on the road in Minnesota. Starting with Minnesota, there's a lot of doubters, surrounding them. Oh, is their defense going to be good? Can PJ Fleck, keep the offense together without Tanner Mordecai? How is Minnesota going to respond? Well, that'll be an interesting question to figure out because Minnesota's always been that consistent team. Now that they've lost their heart and soul and they've lost a really good, talented backfield, running back duo, I think Minnesota, I think, is going to have some trouble, and it's going to show up, I think, a little bit because Nebraska, now that they got Matt Rule in town, the new guy in town now, I think, Jeff Sims is a more mobile quarterback. I feel like he's going to be able to torch the defense with his legs. I think Nebraska is going to be a lot better than people think. And I think this game right here, as much as you would like to say, oh, Minnesota's going to win this outright, Nebraska, Matt Rule, can he do it? He did at Baylor and bring Nebraska to a possible Big Ten championship game. It is all interesting stuff that we plan to find out. But for right now, taking all points in consideration, I could see this being a possible upset because it is week one. But I think PJ Fleck is going to be able to get the offense going. I think Minnesota, is going to pull this one out. I'm leaning Minnesota. I wouldn't be surprised if Nebraska does win this game, just for the fact of it is week one and you just never know. But for right now, I think Minnesota is going to win this game. Now, on to our Saturday slates. And we started off with Colorado at number 17 TCU, PM on Fox. Big noon kickoff will be in the building. Now this is probably got the most intrigue and hype of the Saturday slate because you got the new guy in town, prime time. He's taken over a really, really bad situation in Colorado, and the Buffs are looking to get back on track with prime time at the helm. I think, and then they get to start off with number 17 TCU, the national runner-ups, but they lost a lot of talent as well. Quentin Johnson's gone, Max Duggan's gone. Sonny Dykes, he's going to have a handful challenge on his hands because he's replacing a lot of talent. Last year they had a fantastic season, national runner-up. I think in this game here, I know a lot of people are picking TCU to run away with this. Whatever the spread is, take the spread. TCU is going to run away with this, but I believe Colorado will keep this close. And this is another one where I think we could see prime time, possibly shock the world and beat TCU. But I think that's where TCU, you would think that their experience would win out. The fact that Sonny Dykes, all the success he had last year, the fact he's been able to bring in players, that would help him. But Colorado primetime, could they have a Lincoln Riley-esque turnaround? It's all going to be interesting. I can't wait to watch this game on Fox, big noon kickoff. I think, honestly, Colorado can win this game. I really do. I think Chenault Sanders, Travis Hunter, all the guys that Dion has brought in, he's changed the culture overnight at Colorado. And I think, honestly, I say Colorado might shock the world here. But I think to stay loyal to my pick that I made on the Pac-12 preview, I had Colorado winning this game, so I'm going to say it right here. I got the Colorado Buffs going into TCU and beating the Horned Frogs. I'm picking an upset here. I think Colorado and primetime, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, people. Now, speaking of possible upsets, in quotations, Fresno State at Purdue, 12 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. Another game, we got a bunch of new faces, a lot of players, and a lot of talent are no longer there. Starting on the Purdue side, Jeff Brom went back to his alma mater, Louisville, my guys in the Ville. And, Hudson Card was the new starting quarterback, replacing Aiden O'Connell. Chris Jones a, a really good slot receiver. Many people have compared him to a Julian Edelman type receiver. He's gone. Purdue's going to be working a whole new offense, new head coach, new system, and expecting a lot of rough days ahead to learn for Purdue this year. Now, look on Fresno State side. Jake Hayner's not there anymore, but they still have most of their roster intact. Their head coach is still there as well. I think Fresno State, if they still had Jake Hayner, maybe you could say they would probably be the favorite to win this game. But since Jake Hayner's not there, you might say Purdue is the favorite. It's a very interesting game because you got two different situations. Fresno State, they lost their quarterback, but they still have a lot of talent, still kept most of the team together. Purdue, they're starting from scratch. They've got a whole new team, got to learn a whole new thing. This is at Purdue. I'm going to say this is another one of those upsets. Fresno State gets it done. I think Purdue is going to take some time for the new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, the whole staff of Purdue to get it together. And I think Fresno State goes into Purdue and gets a big-time statement win. Now, on to maybe not a game that you would consider an upset or maybe in a game of importance, but Virginia at number 12, Tennessee, 12 p.m. ABC. Now, this game here, obviously, the reason why I believe we're talking about it is because Joe Milton, Josh Heupel, the hype they got around them. Yes, along with a lot of other teams, they've lost a lot of talent. Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt, they're gone. So Hendon Hooker, one of arguably the best quarterbacks in college football last year, and Tennessee's illustrious history. No, that's all gone now. But can Joe Milton pick up where Hendon Hooker left off? That'll be the interesting question. Virginia, let's be honest, Virginia is rebuilding. They're not very good. Tony Elliott, who came from Clemson, is the offensive coordinator. Many believe that he was possibly able to take Virginia to new heights and fix them, but it just hasn't turned out the way it should have. And I think Virginia, they may be lucky to even win 5 games this year, if that. I think Tennessee's probably going to win this game by at least 20, if not more. I think if this was in Virginia, maybe Tennessee would have the week 1 jitterbugs. But since this is in Tennessee, I don't see any slip-ups. I think this will be a game that Tennessee rolls in. Now, speaking of games of week 1 jitterbugs and possible rolls, number 3 Ohio State goes at Indiana, 3:30 p.m. on CBS. The first game of the CBS era starts in Bloomington, Indiana. Now, you may be wondering, why are we talking about this game as well? Well, for the fact that it is the first CBS game of the season for the Big Ten. But Ohio State has got a lot of questions, more than they usually do. And that is very interesting. As Indiana, they have a lot of questions, but they have explosive players from Jalen Lucas, Taven Jackson, the offensive line of Indiana. If they can hold up, could Indiana pull the upset? Possibly. But for Ohio State, like I said, a lot of their questions includes their quarterback, Kyle McCord or Devin Brown. Which one are you going with? Ryan Day made it vocal. He announced it that Kyle McCord's going to be the starter. And this could be a situation like a J.J. Cade McNamara situation where they play both guys because the first 3 games of the season, are kind of little games that Ohio State should win, including this one here. And I think, honestly, it's very interesting to say the least. I think if Kyle McCord plays really well the first 3 weeks and then goes to Notre Dame and plays really well, the job's probably his. But you also got to factor in, what if Indiana gives Ohio State a run for their money? What if Taven Jackson and company, Jalen Lucas, are better than we expect, and Indiana keeps it closer, and it's not, it's not impossible. You know, it's not impossible. You never say never, but more than likely, Ohio State's going to win this game. And I think Kyle McCord, if he plays really good in this game and keeps it going all the way up to the Notre Dame game and throughout, the job could be his all year. If he's looking not so good, Devin Brown may come in, who's a little more mobile, and could possibly win the job away from him. But I think Ohio State should win this game, but you never want to say never, never. But another game, you know, West Virginia at number 7 Penn State, 7:30 NBC Saturday Night Football. The first Saturday Night Football, the Big Ten era on NBC, and it's going to be West Virginia traveling to Penn State. You know, this game here, you know, many people are wondering, is this Neil Brown's hot seat game? If he doesn't win this game, what happens? Does he get fired? You know, it's very interesting, to say the least. But for Penn State, number 7, you know, there's a lot of hype going around for them. You know, are they as good as people say they are? Are they going to contend for a possible CFP berth? Just for the simple fact of Drew Aller and that offense, you know, is expected to be really good. You know, the defense is supposed to be one of the best in the Big Ten. But I think they should beat West Virginia. They should. But it's very interesting, to say the least. Because if you look at it, Penn State has the reputation of, you know, starting off with these type games where, you know, when they get these type of West Virginia games and you think, oh, they should win these games, right? Well, they've also blown them, because they had this happen in 2020 with Indiana, as my good buddy Jeffrey from We Talk Sports points out in our Indiana preview of the season on Sports Talk here with Austin. Check it out, great interview. The Michael Penix, was that 2-point conversion good or not? And then the hype around Penn State kind of dies down a little bit. So it's very interesting. It is. It's very interesting. And for West Virginia, you know, many would say, if they pull this off, is Neil Brown safe? I don't think you can say, oh, he's safe for sure or he's not. I can just say this. I don't think West Virginia is going to win. I think Penn State, if this was in Morgantown or neutral site, this could be a win for West Virginia. But since it's at Penn State, I don't think they're going to go up to Nittany Lion territory at night and win this game. I think Penn State wins. Now, on to Saturday night on ABC at 7:30 p.m. You've got the 24th, first-ranked, North Carolina Tar Heels at the South Carolina Gamecocks. Now, this right here is the most 50-50 game, I think, of the weekend, arguably, just for the fact of you have 2 Heisman potential candidates in Drake May and Spencer Rattler. 2 quarterbacks who have shown under the bright lights they can perform, and they can also let you down when you least want that to happen. Now, in this game, this is a crucial game for both teams, in my opinion. I think if you have to say, okay, who needs this game more? Who has to win this? You almost want to say North Carolina because of their schedule. Because after this, they get App State, Minnesota, and then ACC play begins with Pitt. So, South Carolina, after this, they've got a couple cupcakes and then Georgia and Mississippi State. So they can afford to lose this, but also, is South Carolina everything that they're hyped up to be because of the last 2 games of the season where they beat, Clemson, and they beat Tennessee and knocked them both out of the college football playoff conversation. And people are saying, "Oh, South Carolina could be a dark horse in the SEC. Could they go 9-3 and maybe even make a New Year's Six?" Well, this could decide a lot of that. The thing that's interesting and intriguing about this game is, well, the defenses. Both defenses can be a little suspect, especially North Carolina's, because you look at them last year, they gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points, especially against teams like Notre Dame, which Notre Dame, just ran the ball, and it just happened that they were able to beat them in the fashion that they were. Georgia Tech was able to have success on that defense. If the North Carolina defense that played those teams shows up here, I think South Carolina is going to win this game, in my opinion. But you also have to look at it from the perspective of, can South Carolina's defense play consistent and hold up good? Because they've shown strides of looking really good and then showing strides of, oh boy, what was that? Their key component to winning this game is Spencer Rattler going to show up. Is Spencer Rattler going to be the Heisman candidate that some analysts have predicted him to be at Oklahoma? And even this year, I've seen some bets where they've said Spencer Rattler is second to favorite to win the Heisman. But I honestly think it's going to be very interesting. If I had to pick right now, I'm going to say Drake May in that offense is going to have enough, because Spencer Rattler needs to show me just a little bit more that he can continue to be consistent in big games. I'm picking North Carolina right now, but it could all change. Now, speaking of things that have changed, Northwestern at Rutgers, 12 p.m. on CBS on Sunday. Now, there's a lot of fluctuations in this game. From the Northwestern side, the whole Pat Fitzgerald fiasco, did any of that happen? Did any what else went on? Northwestern had to hire their new interim head coach, David Braun. Lot of the things coming out of camp, during Big Ten Media Days that that his players are going to play hard for him, and that they're going to make sure that they put the best brand of Northwestern football out there. I think it's very interesting. And Rutgers, they're a team that, well, let's be honest, they're Rutgers. This game here is going to be like a rock fight almost. The battle of the worst, the battle of the dumpsters. And that's hard to say that, because you want everybody to be their best. But with all the fluctuations and all the scandals at Northwestern and Rutgers not having much defense or offense to go off of, even though they have played some teams tough, Rutgers has, and Northwestern, I think when they go head to head, I think Rutgers wins this game. I could see this being like a 20-14 Rutgers win, maybe even a 13-10 Rutgers kind of win. It's going to be one of those games where it's whoever makes the least mistakes will more likely win. Now, on to a game that has a lot of hype as well. Two teams that have been predicted to be in the Natty conversations to win their conferences. Arguably the game of the year last year. Number 5 LSU versus number 8 Florida State in Orlando. 7:30 on Sunday night on ABC. Now this game here, I'm really excited and looking forward to, because you've got on one side number 5 LSU. There's a lot of hype, a lot of hype. Because Brian Kelly, off his successful season after 70% of his roster was turned over, and the incredible job that he did to get LSU to the SEC title game and get a big bowl win over Purdue, even though Purdue had all those opt-outs, Brian Kelly still did what he was supposed to. He beat Alabama. But now can he translate that and take that next step? Can he be what everyone is predicting that LSU will be, and that's the favorites to possibly dethrone Georgia, maybe even make the CFP, and maybe even win the Natty. It's all very interesting. And then you look at number 8, Florida State. That they started the season out a bit slow, and then coming down the stretch, they finished really strong. But you can also look at it from the lens of there was not very many good teams down the stretch either. Beating Syracuse and Miami, you can say they were shells of themselves. But one thing you cannot deny is Jordan Travis and his raw talent. He's arguably, up there with Caleb Williams for discussion of best quarterback in the CFP this year. I honestly think this is going to be one of those games like it was last year. Whoever has the ball last is going to win. And I think this game, are we going to see another missed extra point? Are we going to see any of that? I think it could, because LSU, Florida State, I think are very even. Jalen Daniels, Jordan Travis, I think are going to have they're going to have a Brady Manning kind of duel-esque duel where it's two gunslingers slinging the ball around, and whoever has the ball last wins. And I think LSU right now, I'm leaning LSU for right now. I think they have enough to win this game. I think there's a little too much hype on Florida State for me personally, for me to pick them to win this game. I think LSU has revenge on the mind. I think they don't want to lose this game 2 years in a row. And I believe they need this game more just for the fact they are in the SEC and they do have to play Alabama and possibly play Georgia again. So Florida State, they lose this game, they've still got Clemson ahead and plenty more games they can win to help their chances. As for LSU, they got to have this game, because if they lose this game, then every other big game is going to be almost must win. So I think LSU needs to win, and I think they're more than likely going to win. I'm leaning towards them to win. Now, to close out week 1, Monday night on ESPN, Monday Night Football, College Football Edition. Number 9, Clemson at Duke, 8 p.m. prime time. The season opener and the final game of week 1. Now, this is very interesting. Clemson, they fired Brandon Streeter in the offseason and hired Garrett Riley away from TCU after many people thought, oh, maybe Garrett's going to get a job, or maybe he'll link up with his brother in Lincoln Riley at USC. But no, he chose Clemson and Dabo. DJ Uyundelay's up in Beaver Country with Oregon State now. Kay Klubnik. They still have Will Shipley. Clemson's offense is going to be even better than it was last year. And that's even more challenging to say because in some people's eyes, their offense was not very good. But their offense still produced with DJ and Brandon Streeter. But now with Garrett Riley, they're going to, I think, produce even more now. And Kay Klubnik gets more experience. I think Clemson might be a force to be reckoned with. Now, looking at the Duke side of things, Mike Elko took Duke to 8-4. Got him to a nice bowl game with a win over UCF. I think Duke, you could say part of it is their schedule. It was in their favor, as this year they have more games that they could possibly lose. I think, for me, Duke, I'm going to need to see a little bit more. I'm not saying they're a one-hit wonder, but if they could keep this close with Clemson, then we will know how truly good they really are. And I think Clemson, are they in upset territory? Possibly, because if this was in Death Valley or neutral site, I think Clemson would more than likely have the advantage and would be able to win. I think here, since it's at Duke, and they're going to be rocking for the opening game and a chance to knock off Clemson, I think they'll keep it close for the first half, but then I think too much of Garrett Riley, and I think Duke. I'm leaning Clemson right now. I think Clemson should get the dub here and keep it going. I think I think Clemson's going to be pretty solid this year. Obviously, they're probably going to be national championship contenders throughout the season. But yeah, this is the preview of week 1. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Comment to the channel. You know, be back with more great content. Got college basketball stuff coming, NBA stuff coming, more college football coming. But football week 1 of CFP is officially back tonight. So until then, peace out.